All right, good morning, everyone. Super excited to introduce you to Abdiel, who is the Business Development Manager and Marketing Manager. I think I got that title right for House 820. He is going to be showcasing this really unique property. If you've never seen it, it's out in Lakeland. I am going to drop information in the chat so you can contact him, learn more about House 820. As he's going along the tour, if you do have any questions about, oh, well, where is this? Or how many does that seat? Or can I hang stuff there? Feel free to drop that into the chat and I will monitor that and pass those along to him. But in the meantime, I will turn it over to Abdiel.
Thanks, Anna. Thank you, team, for having me today and the Haus 820 team. I thought I would start the tour outside so you guys can see the venue from the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started that way. This is the exterior of our building. It was a grocery store in the 1920s. It was an A&P. And after that, it was a furniture store through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And then it sat dormant for a really, really long time. City of Lakeland came in, bought it, and was trying to figure out what to do with it. And that's where we came in and took over. It's one of the first warehouses turned event venues in Central Florida. So it's got some really great history. All of the white brick here that you see is all original. All of the open rafters are also all original. So people really love the historic charm that we've been able to preserve while still bringing it into the modern day design. There's no major architectural elements that you have to contend with when you're thinking of designing your event. And that's one of the biggest perks that I think we have and why people really love to do their events here. It's truly a blank canvas. So you kind of see as you walk through, you walk right into the main hall. In this first third here, right between these first two columns, is generally where we see our indoor wedding ceremonies. There is some amazing natural light. As you can see, the photos are just dreamy. So people really, really love this for the ceremony. But we've also seen ceremonies in the center of the building, but this is kind of usually the footprint for the ceremony. All of the blinds do drop as well, which I'll show you guys towards the end of our tour. So it does give you full control of the amount of light that you bring in and how much of that visual noise you want to try to block out for your event. As we move kind of a little bit further east into the building, you'll see there is a projector right here. That really marks the center, really the heart and soul of the building. Usually we see the the receptions rather, take place right here. That sweetheart table's generally right in the center there with that brick wall as the backdrop. People will usually project a monogram, photos, and even for our corporate events, they'll use that projector to project, whatever they're presenting to their teams during that awards banquet or something of that sort. And then the tables and chairs just kind of set up to the left and to the right here. Now, our venue does come with 150 black Chiavari chairs and tables to accommodate them. So that's a nice little addition. Whenever you rent the venue, you already have some tables and chairs secured. And then right over here to this side of the building is another just kind of a blank wall, one more additional projector right there. We usually see this area set up for the buffet style food. It's really close to our kitchen and bar area. So it just allows for that catering staff to have easy entering and exiting from the kitchen to replenish and restock that bar of food. And we'll kind of walk this way. There's this 16-foot custom bar that we built in. Obviously, you can imagine people love it. So this is where the liquid courage happens right before you start dancing. Fully customizable as well for designing. So it really allows couples and corporate events to really customize the entire space to make it their own. Now we're going to walk over here. You guys may have seen a very Insta famous color wall. And this is really what our building is known for in Central Florida. This really stunning color wall mural that a lot of our brides and grooms will come out here and photo. It's also open to the public. So if you're ever in the area, it's a really great spot to get some amazing content. This here is the back side of that bar. Now, our venue does come with a full finishing commercial kitchen, as you can see here. Warmer, which is going to be here. We'll actually have a double oven and a new warmer, so there will be some capabilities to actually really cook in here as well if you need to on the fly, prepping tables. Really great, easy in and out for that catering staff, so they can kind of come in and out unseen, load in and load out very easily. All right. Square footage of our main hall is 7,500 danceable areas, what I like to say. So it's nice and roomy. We had a really great vendor meet and greet in here yesterday, and we had a bunch of separate little spaces created for photo shoots. And it was pretty amazing to see the versatility even for styled shoots and commercial photo shoots and video shoots as well. All right, this here is our main, what we call shared area. Here's where you'll find the restrooms to the right up that way. Very large, very roomy. There should never be any lines for your guests if they need to use the restroom. We call it shared because right past these doors is an art studio. It is a separate lease, but there's several artists who rent space in here and create art. There's also art shows occasionally. So while it's not part of House 820, it does add a nice little addition to the vibe and aesthetic of the building. And even our guests love to kind of see that as well. All right, so just to the right of the building is a really great courtyard. Kind of pan. This here, believe it or not, is larger than the danceable area in our venue. This is 7,700 square feet. Huge courtyard area. We see a lot of the ceremonies happening out here during our cooler months, as you could imagine. Couples using that platform there as the backdrop to the ceremony. Chairs just kind of lined up here. These market lights also do turn on to create a nice ambiance in the evening. We also see this being used for just a cocktail hour for couples who prefer to do the ceremony indoors. They'll have their guests come out here for a cocktail hour. It's really, really beautiful space. We now have another really great mural right here by a local Florida artist. You've probably seen this on Instagram as well. Nice little pop of color against our famous little white brick everywhere. All right. We recently installed these bamboo fillings to make this private as we possibly can, considering that it is an outdoor space. And you'll notice there's these three gates. They're actually configured for food trucks. So they will swing inward. They're spec'd to have a food truck pull right behind it and allow the guests to remain inside the courtyard, but still be able to interact with those food trucks. It's pretty cool.
We had a question about where do guests have cocktail hour if their ceremony is outside?
They'll do it in the back third of that courtyard. So I don't know if you guys noticed, there was 2 rows of columns. So we'll usually do that cocktail hour happen behind that last set of columns. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is show you guys what the space looks like as we drop the blinds, just to kind of give you an idea of the automation of them and as well as how it looks while it's more of evening time. Give me one moment.
And while he's doing that, again, if you look in the chat, we have some links to some different information. The last link there, the candle one, that is going to have pricing information on there. is going to tell you about what all's included, what types of tables and chairs they have, types of different add-ons, and a few things to know. So definitely kind of look through there if you want to see more about that.
This kind of gives you thank you, Anna. This kind of gives you an idea of the vibe and the mood that we can set in the evening. It's really beautiful for weddings, receptions in particular. We usually just see these lights, which are the string light market lights you see above, the bar lights there. We do allow open flame in building, meaning candles, as long as they're in a glass container of sort. So once you add some of those candles on your tabletops, your DJ's up light, it's really, really beautiful lighting for that evening ceremony. And before we walk out and show you guys the suites, just overhead, you'll notice there is some additional overhead lighting. That's also something you guys can turn on as a client with us. It is a little bit more of a, like a cooler light, not so warm. So it does splash a different color tone light. But it is something, if you do need additional lighting, you can add some of those overheads, which we primarily see used for more of that corporate event, that corporate client. As we exit the building here and head towards our getting ready suites, I'll briefly kind of talk about our parking. There are 154 spots total. This is the main lot. Just past this main lot, you're going to notice, if you can, there's a second lot right behind us. It's another gated lot. And also to the right of that lot, an additional gated lot. It's all parking. So plenty of parking to accommodate guests. We also have a contract with the local tax collector building, which is to the right of us. We can use them for overflow on the weekends and after 5 p.m.
We had a question about the getaway car. Is the getaway car normally in the parking lot or the courtyard area?
It's in the parking lot. Right in front of one of the courtyard gates is a really blank sort of concrete slab right near a lot of our foliage. So we see a lot of the cars parked there because there's a beautiful like palm and agave and cactus backdrop. So that's generally where we see it. So there's access to coming out of the courtyard if that's where your exit is, or from the main doors. So kind of right past that courtyard.
Perfect. And
now
is there special vendor parking?
Yes, there are 6 spots right behind that gate that I showed you guys earlier in the kitchen. We do have some vendor parking back there. That's generally where we kind of see our vendors post up during the events.
Awesome, thank you.
Now, of course, here is our offices. This is shared house management office. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with house management, but Laura Shannon, who is the best boss on the planet, she owns 3 businesses under that house management: Ashton Events, Bloom Shakalaka Florals, and House 820. So we all office out of here as one big team. This area here is just a shared lounge area that we also grant access to for our clients that book. Sometimes friends and family need somewhere to wait before photos. We totally give them that option here. And just as you walk down this hallway, we're going to see our first getting ready suite. Guests have access to this for the entire time they have the venue. So on the weekends, when you book us, you'll have 12 hours. Weekdays is 8. So our guests can hang out in here, get comfortable, make it their home, or their house, I should say. Let me try to loop in a pun there. Really great getting ready bar here. So beautiful space here. We generally see the bride and her posse kind of hanging out in here. And then just to the left is a second getting ready suite. It is our conference room during the week. We definitely zhuzh it up for events to make it feel a little bit more loungy. This can be somewhere where the groom and his guys hang out, or just an additional getting ready suite for family and friends if needed.
Another question we have, what time does vendor access start?
That's something that we can coordinate. Every event's a little different. That does not really cut into the time with the client books, that's something that we can usually kind of coordinate an hour or two before their time starts if needed. We have a lot of great partnerships with the vendors in our area. A lot of them actually have codes to access our building. So we're really flexible with making sure that we work with their schedule. So that way it's, easy for everyone.
Perfect.
I'll show you guys the on-site bathroom. We all know we love a good bathroom selfie. So we'd like to make sure our restrooms are really cute. So this is the restroom for the bride and her party. And then just down the hall is the restroom for the guys, just the third door to the right there. And really, guys, that concludes the tour of House 820.
Awesome, great. I think something that people who may be familiar with the venue may not be familiar with your new all-inclusive option. So do you kind of want to share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And this is something that we just started in April. And it's the first time that we were able to really pull this offering together for our guests, just out of an overabundance need of our clients really wanting us to help them from start to finish. So we created an all-inclusive package, which we've called House Concierge. It is a slightly elevated all-inclusive package. We're offering a lot that a lot of other all-inclusive package, just industry standard wise, do not include. So obviously you're getting the venue. When you book with all-inclusive, you're getting all the bells and whistles of the venue. Meaning if you just book our venue, the courtyard's not necessarily included. You have to add that on. The projectors also need to be added on. So with the all-inclusive, you're getting every bell and whistle with the venue. We're also including catering and bar for up to 100 of your guests. We have the florals all involved in there too, which is a really big part of weddings these days, as you guys know, and they're not cheap. So by adding that to the package, it allowed a really big stressor for our brides. We kind of were able to remove that piece. We have photography also included. We also include a wedding coordinator, month of and day of, DJs, draping, linen. So really the full package. It's really one of those where you really don't have to do anything. And it's really been a great addition to the house offerings. We've had some record-setting months so far since the launch. So it's been awesome to have.
That's very cool to hear. Another question that we have, if someone does a ceremony inside, do you offer draping to separate the space, or does the client need to outsource that?
It's an outsourced thing, but we have really great relationships with some vendors. So we always make sure we connect you with somebody.
Awesome. And then for the all-inclusive packages, are there set vendors, or do you get to pick from a list? So you do just have one photographer, one planner, et cetera, or there may be a handful?
There's a handful. So there is still some options in there for you to pick from. Essentially, we reach out to the vendors, give them the date, and whoever in our list is available, that becomes the list that the client can then pick from.
Perfect. Awesome. Do you guys have any more questions for Abdiel? I think that's it. Oh, wait, nope. Are the suites included in the rental, the getting ready suites?
Yes, absolutely. You get them for the full hour, for the full time that you rent the space. So if you have the 12-hour time block, you'll get the suites for the same 12-hour time block.
Got it. And then we have a question: how do vendors become a preferred vendor for House 820?
Yeah, reach out to me. We are constantly reassessing that. At least every quarter, we'll go back and check that out. But if you just want to shoot an email to me, Abdiel, ABDIEL @house820.com, and I can kind of start to engage in that conversation with you.
Another question, of course. Is there a minimum or maximum cost needing to be reached to be part of this all-inclusive package? I'm not sure if that means for the Jackie and Lauren, I'm not sure if that means for the couple side or for the vendor side. Is there a minimum or maximum cost needing to be reached to be part of this all-inclusive package? Do you mean that from the vendor side or from the couple side, Jackie and Lauren? From the vendor side.
No, not necessarily. Whenever we started this package, we entered in negotiations with a lot of the vendors just to make sure that we could keep it under a certain price point for the client. So within each vendor category, there is a number that yes, you'll need to kind of hit as at least a max. You can't necessarily go past a maximum. So yes and no, there is some wiggle room there, but we try to keep it under a certain amount to keep that price approachable for people.
And this is my personal question, with the all-inclusive package, are there upgrades available? So if they decide, hey, I want to, add this into the catering, or I want to do this really, kind of more ornate ceremony arch that may not be included, can you play around with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that happen so far with the couples that have booked. If you want to add on anything, that's something that you will contract separately with your vendor. So it's essentially going to be a separate invoice. But yes, you can totally add on as much as you want. And even let's say, part of our catering and bar, let's say this couple does not want to serve alcohol, they just want a dry wedding. We can allocate those funds elsewhere and provide, maybe an upgrade on the food, or you want to put those funds to provide a cake or something of that sort. So there is definitely some customization in there as well.
Very cool. What is the process for setting up a styled shoot?
Yeah, so if you just go to our website or our Instagram page, it's in the link in our bio, or just on our website. It's called Open House Studio Session. You just request the time on the calendar, and from there we'll take it. Right now we are opening our books 45 days out, and it's Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. So you can book that shoot during office hours. It's $75 an hour, 2-hour minimum. So really good price, especially because you get run of the entire venue for those 2 hours or more. But yeah, very easy to book.
Awesome. That is a great price. What is the seated and cocktail capacity for the inside space?
Yeah, so seated, we're at 400, which is our comfortable number. You could do 450, it might just be a little bit, tighter. Now, if you do no tables, more auditorium style, for example, an award ceremony or a concert or something of that sort, you can definitely up that 500, 550. Standing, you're looking at 1,000 total space. So plenty of room to customize as well.
Very cool. Going back to the all-inclusive packages, if they choose a vendor not on the vendor list, will they be able to use other vendors as long as they're insured, or do they have to use only those vendors on the list for the all-inclusive?
That's a great question. Because we are, this package for us is still very new, we are allowing some a la carte, if you will, for photography or maybe like a draping situation. Because we are so new and couples are wanting to upgrade and they've already booked or something of that sort. So we are engaging case by case with that. The only one that really does not make sense for us to a la carte would be catering and bar, because that's such a big piece of the package. So once we remove that, then there's not really much for us to liaison with that client. So yes and no, but it is case by case.
And then how does a vendor get onto the all-inclusive list?
That's an even better question. That's something that we have just begun to engage as we posted this, and there's been a lot of vendors who have reached out and who we also think could be a great addition. And again, just shoot me an email. We are definitely looking at others to add to the mix for sure.
Awesome. Great. Aren't you so glad we did this when you're probably maybe like 6 months in now?
Like 3.5.
Okay, 3.5. Well, you're speaking as if you've been doing this for a couple of years now. So great job on answering all the questions.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. You guys have any more questions for Abdiel? All right. I think is the I- Is the vendor list posted online, whether it be your preferred vendor list or your all-inclusive vendor list?
They are not posted online. That's usually something we engage with the customer once they inquire and show some interest. But if you are interested, I have no problem shooting that over to you. If you want to, again, just drop me an email. But we like to kind of hold that a bit to engage our customer around that.
How does your venue's availability look for the rest of the year? How many events do you usually do in a week?
Yeah, so we usually see at least 2 to 3, definitely Friday, Saturday, and we'll usually have a midweek, maybe corporate breakfast or a styled shoot or something of that sort. So, on average, during our slow summer months, you're looking at 6 to 8 for the month. And then obviously more than double that during our busy season, 16 to 18 a month. And I want to say for the year so far, we're at like 86 for 2023.
And that's all events or weddings only?
That's a total of weddings and all events. So a good mix. Primarily weddings though. We have a really great November, December this year. It's looking better than last year. So we're super stoked.
Very cool. Awesome. Do you require any type of wedding and liability insurance from the clients?
Yes, just your standard day of event insurance.
Any special effects prohibited? Maybe like cold sparks or anything like that?
Yeah, we used to allow cold sparks, but we've kind of put a pause on that. We do allow cold sparks from 2 of our preferred vendor DJs because they've had trusted, tried and true cold spark systems with no malfunctions. So we like for only those preferred vendors that we know how to function, use those machines to do it. But other than that, the only other thing that we don't love and is on our do not do list are like confetti bombs or glitter bombs, because it's impossible to get that off of our concrete floors.
And then just to clarify too, the all-inclusive packages just started, but the venue has been open for how long now?
6 years, so since 2017.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Still fairly new. We're still kind of getting our legs, but yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun ride.
Very cool. And then Darius, you had a question, but I'm not quite sure what that means. Once a preferred vendor, do you make a sponsored post on social media? I'm not sure what that means. Okay. Do you promote once you're a preferred vendor, do you promote the vendor on your social media pages?
Yeah, that's something that we have just started doing at the launch of our all-inclusive. I would say about every 8 to 10 posts or something around there, we will post something about the all-inclusive offering, list the vendors. We also take an opportunity in our Reels section to promote the photographer or the DJs that are part of our preferred vendors list. So it's definitely something we mix in there.
Very cool. Awesome. Any more questions? Can a client bring a cigar roller or fire dancers? Is that an option?
Yeah, absolutely. We see that a lot in our courtyard area. So great space to do that.
Perfect. Question I have, if someone's doing an outdoor ceremony and they have, let's say, a large amount of people, maybe 400, closer to your max for a sit down, kind of what's your rain backup in that scenario? It's going to be kind of hard to flip when you've got that many people. So what do you do if they want to do an outdoor ceremony, but then they've got 400 inside, or maybe 300 inside?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. The Haus 820 team itself, we don't have the personnel to ever do any flipping. So that's usually something that day of coordinator will have as a plan B. What we've seen in the past is really calling it as early as possible and, really having to do a longer flip so that we can we don't set the reception tables as early as we normally would, from what I've seen the coordinators do. So yes, it becomes a little bit harder of a flip, but what we've seen is they will hold reception tables and just really fill that space with just the ceremony. And then ask us to kind of maybe hopefully the rain stops to go outside momentarily in the courtyard to kind of do that cocktail hour still out there to allow that rearranging, flipping back to reception.
Does your team set up the tables and chairs if the guest count is 150 or lower?
So we do set up for in the all-inclusive package. If you're doing venue only, that's an add-on. So that's something that you can add, and our team will essentially set up the tables and chairs to your spec. We'll send you a map, you'll jot it out, and we'll have it set the day before for you. And then also break it down.
Do you require that couples have a planner, or is that just optional?
No, we don't require it. We definitely encourage it for, Anna, exactly what you were saying. It is Florida and it could change in the drop of a dime. So we do encourage it because, while we are event venue coordinators, we aren't event coordinators. So it's definitely something that we like to encourage guests to do.
Very, very good point to point out there. Do you allow deliveries from a rental company the day before, or is it just the day of?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as there's not an event happening, obviously in Q4, a lot of our events are back to back to back, so they may not be possible always. But yes, it's definitely something we can coordinate with. And Anna, who I'm not sure if you guys were here during the introduction, but Anna, who is my colleague and is amazing, she is that client liaison. She's the one to do all of those vendor logistics just to make sure it makes sense for everyone.
Perfect. Who is your ideal client when it comes to a couple? What type of client? I know people usually say everyone, but is there any particular couple that you find that are really attracted to your space? Is it typically Lakeland locals? Is it destination couples? Is it people coming over from Tampa, St. Pete? What do you find?
For the 3 months that I've been here, it's Tampa, St. Pete, Orlando. It's people who are, maybe live more in this, like a bigger city, more of an urban area, and want more of that simple, minimal warehouse vibe. They're typically, younger millennial age, who really just appreciate more of a raw space. Somebody who's really creative, who can really visualize the space without much helping them because it is such a blank, simple canvas. So yeah, I think somebody has an open mind, and that's generally what we see is more like a creative, artistic person who just wants to go crazy.
Very cool. All right. Speak now, forever hold your peace when it comes to questions. I know we covered a lot. Thank you so much we usually don't get that many questions. So kudos to you for.
It's because they knew I was new. I'm only 3 months new.
No.
They're testing me. No, I'm just kidding.
Laura would be very proud of you. She'd be very proud of you. Well, thank you so much again. Again, feel free if you want to hang out and participate. We'll just kind of do some general vendor chat and networking, so you can hang out if you like. But thank you again. I'm sure you probably have got several emails in your inbox already. But thanks, Abdul. We appreciate it.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. It's nice to meet everyone.